to Between a Hot Mess and a Therapist, your not so typical self-help podcast for therapists, healers, and helpers. I'm your host, Shauna Lovin, a seasoned therapist with a rebellious spirit. This season, we are redefining freedom, fulfillment, and stability without burning out, self-doubt, or playing by the rules of a broken system. We are cutting through the noise and exploring what it means to truly live life on your terms, not by what society expects of us. No more chasing an illusion of success that leaves you drained, because we are embracing the beautiful messiness, the sometimes chaotic journey we call life. So grab your favorite beverage, get comfy, and let's dive in. Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Between a Hot Mess and a Therapist. Okay, we are getting close to Halloween, and I want to know, what do y'all do for fun? You know, I try to get the candy for the kids and get costumes, but because I work from home, that doesn't always happen. And so I always say I'm going to get my neighbors who work from home and we're going to have a party. And then, that doesn't happen. So I don't know. This is kind of where the topic comes from, though. So let's get to it. Have you ever found yourself sitting in the aisle at Target and holding some feathered mask like it's contraband? You tell yourself you're buying this for the kids' party or for some themed self-care night. But really, there's this little internal voice that perks up and says, maybe tonight you don't have to be useful. Maybe tonight you get to be ridiculous. That feeling is wrong, illicit, and illegal all the way around. It feels like stepping into your closet where your responsibility suit hangs up for just a few hours. This whole thing is a little quieter than nostalgia and louder than a longing. And there's something fierce about this murmur that happens, because it reminds you of a part of yourself that used to dance without permission. Here's an idea. Play is not childish. It's not optional either. For grown folks, especially anyone who works where you are required to hold other people's pain, playful wildness is a psychological necessity. We talk a lot about regulation, safety, and grounding. We teach breath work and boundaries. But there's this little vocabulary for sanctioned, culturally acceptable release. Halloween gives us that social scaffolding for the release. And I want to argue that we should stop sneering at it and start prospecting that this healing offers us something, even though that it's quiet. If you slow down and look at the autonomy of adult life, you'll see where play somehow just evaporated. There are mortgages, emails, 3 therapy notes that need to be done, a dog that needs to be walked, kids' science projects are due. The in-laws are calling, and the calendar looks like a Tetris board made from an anxious god. Somewhere between paying bills and managing everyone else's needs, imagination got traded for productivity. We became proud for all the things that we scheduled and controlled, and ashamed of the parts of us that want to run barefoot in the grass. Halloween becomes one of those few socially acceptable days when you can put on a mask and be larger than life, use a fake accent, touch a stranger in some awkward way on their shoulder, and it's done with consent, of course. But it's all in fun instead of some kind of crazy dysfunction. This matters because your nervous system is not just satisfied by small, curated, Instagram-friendly breaks. Your nervous system doesn't unwind in the bathroom with candles and bubble baths and 8 deep breaths and, this rest that we think that we get by doing some of the basic shit. Your life is wired with tension all the time. So the basic shit doesn't work. It needs to have some kind of release that actually shakes your circuits up. It's the need that the somatic discharge that comes with being loud, from moving in ways that aren't efficient, from laughing until our ribs hurt. Costumes, movement, ritual, and playful transgression. These are not just frivolous things. These are embodied interventions that we actually need. They are the reset button that says your value isn't performance. Your nervous system is allowed to shift states. So let's be a little specific here. I remember a client who spent most of the year in an emergency room as a nurse, and they're carrying other people's shock, grief, disappointment, all the things we know. And then they showed up at a Halloween night drum circle in a cat mask. Okay, sounds a little weird. For the first time in months, she moved without any objection. She tapped, clapped, and started yelling nonsense into the night sky like some child who found their voice all of a sudden. The next session, I recall, she said something that I'll never forget. She hadn't realized how much she had been holding her breath all year long until she laughed so hard that her face hurt. That is the antidote. That is physiology. The laughter loosened the muscles. The rhythm reorganized her breath. And the societal safety of collective play provided permission to let go. So here's another layer that I like to add. Let's use rituals as permissions. Permission is so underrated in modern wellness and culture and anything present day, because it smells faintly like some stench where we've stripped the meaning of it. But rituals is simply just repeating, repetition, public action that signifies the difference. Halloween is a communal rite that allows us to flirt with death, with shadows, with costume identities, with things we usually hide. When you don on some cape or have an outrageous wig, you're not just someone else. You're disinhabiting the parts of yourself that were politely asked to be quiet. The safety of autonomy, even partial autonomy, teaches you how to be in the body without constant self-editing. The ritual of dressing up lowers the threshold of vulnerability, which, oddly, helps you reconnect to your true, messy self. So now, for those of us who are helpers, and which pretty much everyone here is, there's an additional complication that we want to add. We live behind armored composure. We are trained to listen without collapsing, to attune without absorbing, to be present without performing our own traumas or showing our own traumas. There's this notable skill set that we have where it can create habits and other patterns that maybe aren't so healthy. We are containing, we're analyzing, and we're responding. Play demands that you stop containing. Dressing up invites you to perform, but from a different register, that is. And this non-professional performance of competence, but we put this as more of a creative performance of being alive. And if you're the kind of person who thinks play is self-indulgent, hear me out. Modeling play is a radical act of service. And we know that if we want good service for the people we help, we need to take care of ourselves first. When we show our clients, colleagues, and even our kiddos that adults can be messy, loud, joyful, and safe, we broaden the definition of what healthy adults can look like. And we all know that because with these daggone millenniums, ooh, Lord. Okay, so let's be honest for a second. A lot of us are terrified of looking ridiculous. Let's just call a spade a spade. We also have a private terror about pleasure, that if we open the valve, the grief will just flood out, or that our bodies will remind us of some kind of trauma that we're trying to keep very organized. Some of our colleagues and friends refuse to dance because their bodies remember these clinical scenes or PTSD or some other kind of trauma, and they don't want these spaces to overlap. That fear is valid, but wildness is not a one-size-fits-all prescription. It's a practice that needs some kind of scaffolding. That's why rituals can be useful. It's a container for your transgressions, a socially agreed upon space where the risk of being judged is reduced. The trick to all of this is to find forms of play that are sane and safe for you. Not like this performative or numbing thing, but it's for you. We want to play that moves our nervous system's different states, not play that reproduces avoidance under some fun disguise. You'll know that your nervous system needs this when you notice that what your body's signature is. Sleepless nights that aren't explained by caffeine, ongoing low hum of agitation, maybe tightness across the shoulders that seem impervious to stretching. Maybe you catch yourself scrolling at 2 a.m. like a rag doll, and you realize that no one is actually engaging you. That's not just busyness. That's under-metabolized affect. Play, especially crazy ritualistic play, helps discharge that stuck energy. When it's done with intention, it becomes your somatic medicine. And yes, the messy middle is trying all of this out, and it looks ugly as hell at first. But you'll probably start with some cheesy performative attempts, a themed Zoom call where half the participants are in pajamas, or some small backyard costume party where someone's 3-year-old steals the show. I don't know. It's worth some feeling of effortless, though. Your inner critic will just chime in, quoting every productivity creed that you've been taught. But the exact place where you need to be is right there in the middle, because that's where the transformation happens. The first time that you let your voice carry, you move your hips in public, or wear something outrageous, you expose the part of you that has been hiding. The messy middle is the practice field of where your nervous system learns a new grammar of joy. So what really needs to shift? Not a new habit tracker, not another self-care challenge where you just add a ritual to the already overflowing to-do list. What we need is to reframe how we think about play. Play is an optional reward instead of some kind of small containments that build permission or need obligation. No, play is much freer than that. It could be something as modest as leaving glitter on your desk drawer that you broke out that afternoon doing some kind of ritual. Or it could be dancing to a song loud enough that the neighbors ask what's going on. It could mean organizing some micro ritual with friends who are also exhausted, but it's deliberate. And y'all aren't on phones for 45 minutes. And maybe you dress up. Maybe y'all engage in terrible karaoke where that is celebrated and not critiqued. The practice is less about the costume and more about the consent to feel ridiculous and whole again. Human design, your energetic awareness system, is something to prefer. It offers useful information and a useful lens. If you are someone who reflects before you act, the invitation might be to play in wildness. If you're someone who bursts with spontaneous energy, The invitation might be to create safety rituals so that you can discharge your energy, but it doesn't dip into some crazy chaos. So look, like projectors, like me, or other really sensitive types. Learning to wait for the invitation doesn't mean denying your desire for play. It means finding context where your contribution is welcome, where your presence in the wild is held and appreciated. For my generators or manifesting generators, your ecstatic energy might be the engine for the group ritual. So steward it with the boundaries so that you don't burn yourself out the next day. The point here is your design helps you tailor how you enter the world to play, and in a way that protects your nervous system rather than disassociates from it. I want to be precise about what kind of joy I'm inviting towards you anyway. This isn't about a manic optimism. It's not about escaping your adult responsibilities or using play as a path of avoidance. The wildness I'm talking about is fierce, messy, and embodied joy that helps you metabolize grief and fatigue. It's the smell of smoke and cinnamon on a cool night, the sticky sweatness of too much candy, the ridiculousness of a cape, the relief of being seen as ridiculous instead of being held. That kind of joy lubricates the parts of your system that are stuck in this hypervigilance. If you are skeptical, I know, I get it, but try just one experiment that's not performance driven, but it's more invitation based. Pick a ritual that feels slightly out of the ordinary and commit to a small group. Make an agreement. No one will diagnose, no one will problem solve, and no one will give unsolicited advice. The role is to just witness and not fix. See what happens to the tone of your body after an hour of permitted play. Notice the looseness in your jaws, the shift in your breath, the drop in the baseline of your anxiety. This qualitative data will be more persuasive than any motivational quote. So, before I close, I want to name what is this not. This is not permission to weaponize chaos. You are using wildness to justify addictive behaviors, numbness, or avoidance. That ain't it either. I am definitely not advocating for anything negative, but this skilled play, this is more of a ritualized release with compassion and boundaries. It's making room for your nervous system to move between states so that you can return to your work very replenished and in a good container, in a good space. It's the difference between mindless scrolling and embodied embodiment. Your work as a helper asks so much of you. It asks you to be steady, attuned, and generous. But your capacity to be those things depends on your ability to be wild sometimes. Real play is not frivolous. It's medicine. And Halloween, with all the costumes and controlled transgressions, it is a cultural permission slip to practice that medicine. What happens if instead you minimize it, you really leaned into it? What happens if you give yourself one night this season where you don't have to be useful, where you allow the ridiculousness to happen, where you let your body do what it wants to do without analyzing it? I want to hear from you. What is one small ritual that could help you with your radical permissions this season? What part of your nervous system is asking to be released? Make sure you send me a DM, you reply, or leave a comment. Tell me one tiny wild thing that you're going to try. No judgment, no curiosity. I just have curiosity. And I hope this was helpful. Until next time. There you have it, my friends. Another episode in the books. Remember, it's okay to be a hot mess sometimes. It's all a part of the journey we call life. Until next time, stay rebellious, stay authentic, and keep embracing the beautiful messiness of life. Want to learn more about your unique energetic blueprint? Make sure you download your free chart and learn how it can help you make choices that are aligned with who you are and not who society expects you to be. Please visit shauna11lpcs.com for more information. Anything mentioned in today's episode will be linked in the show notes. And if you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you subscribe, you share with a friend, leave a review, and keep coming back for more.